Hi everyone, BritSimon here. So I've promised many of you that I would bring you some news about DV2027 as soon as I could, as soon as I heard anything. And there is some news to bring, so I'm bringing you an update about that. It isn't an announcement of the start date, but it is an indication of that the process will still happen. Let me show you the announcement that's come out today, and you'll be able to read along with me. I'll make this a little bit bigger for you and I'll read it out to you. Okay, so this was posted just a few minutes ago, and I'll read it and I'll explain each of the sections to you just to make sure you understand what's going on. Changes to the entry period for 2027 diversity visa program, right? The department is implementing certain changes to the diversity visa entry process. We will announce the start date for the DV 2027 registration period as soon as practicable, as well as the date that the DV 2027 selection results may become available through the entry status check, ESC. These changes will not affect the visa application period for individuals selected for DV 2027, which will remain October 1st, 2026 to September 30th, 2027. So let me just break that down. Firstly, what does this announcement mean? It means that the DV 2027 entry period is going to go ahead, that DV 2027 is going to go ahead. But there are some changes that they're making to that process, which we already know about, right? And if you've been listening to my channel for a little while, you'll know about it already. But just to explain that, adding an entry fee, which we believe to be $1, an entry fee to the process so that every person that enters creates their own entry, will be paying $1 for that entry, and then I believe derivatives will just be included on that same entry. In other words, you won't pay for every derivative, you'll just be paying that $1. But the precise rules about that new charge, we have to wait and see and wait until we've got the announcement of the results. Right now, the government is modifying their systems in order to take that charge and allow the entry. And that's taking some time, and that's why the process is being delayed. The delay is not to do with the shutdown, okay? It just isn't. Those of you that keep saying it is, you're incorrect. There is another group of people that, and by the way, let me tell you why you're incorrect. The DV 2027 should have been announced in September and should have started in October. In September, it was not announced. It was already late, and we already had the announcement of the $1 fee. So we were expecting it to be late, right? But it became late during September. The shutdown didn't start until the 1st of October. In other words, it was late before the shutdown was even known to be a thing, right? So it's not to do with the shutdown. It's also not to do with Trump and his not liking the DV lottery process or immigrants or whatever. It's not to do with that either. It's to do with the reason that the government keeps saying it's to do with this reason, and I keep saying it's to do with this reason, and some of you still won't believe it, but it's to do with this $1 fee. That's why it's late. Now, there's a couple of other points in this announcement that are key and important, and I wanted to explain those too, because I have touched on this before. I've explained that this would happen, and they're confirming what I've said, basically. We will announce the start date for the DV27 registration period as soon as practical, as well as the date that DV27 selection results may become available through the entry status check. So, and this is something that I have explained already. If there is a delay in the entry period, there has to be a delay in the announcement of the results. So if the entry period didn't start in October and finish in November, then they couldn't do the announcement of the results for May of next year, right? That would mean that there would be a knock-on delay. Now, we have seen this sort of thing before. We've seen an entry period being delayed or restarted, actually, and we've seen a delay, therefore, in the announcement of the results. Now, because of the time that they've delayed here, we're probably not going to see the results until June or perhaps July of next year, based on a start date that means that we'll probably be doing the entry period sometime. I expect the entry period to happen before the end of this year, And that probably will knock on to a June or July start date in terms of the announcement of the results and the DS260 submissions, right? But there has to be that sort of gap, because in that gap, they have to select the winners, they have to get people to submit the DS260s, they have to process those DS260s, and so on, right? So there's a lot of work that that has to sort of go on between now and the beginning of next year. There's a lot of work even to get the results out by selecting of the winners, initial processing of those winners, finding fraudulent entries, and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of work they've got to do, and they really can't delay this whole process very much longer. So I kind of understand what's going on behind the scenes with the government, and I'm glad at least they've put some sort of announcement out, because their silence was deafening, and their silence was allowing many of your imaginations to run away with you, so that you had all sorts of silly thoughts about what was going on, right? But this makes it clear. The entry period is going to happen. The results will be delayed, and then the beginning of the process will start on October 1st of next year, as is normal. Okay, so things are going to get condensed a little bit, and I've discussed what that might mean also in terms of lesser number of selectees. I believe that they might select less people than they have done recently, but that remains to be seen. We won't know that for a long time. So anyway, that's where we stand. The entry period will go ahead. The announcement of the results will be delayed. The processing, the interview period will not be delayed. So this whole thing is going to happen in a condensed timeline, but it will happen in a normal legal way. Okay. That's it. That's the only update I have for you. I hope that was useful, and I hope that will allay some of your fears and your frustrations and so on. Just be ready. And when the entry period does start, please do make sure you pay attention to some of the videos that I'll release around about that time, to explain how you can avoid the sheer annoying thing of getting disqualified during this process. It's very important that you follow the instructions. It's very important you create a good photo. And if you want to take this opportunity, and if you want to be a winner, you need to follow some basic instructions. Okay. Please do make sure you subscribe to my channel to make sure you can get those instructions. So stay tuned for the update of the entry period announcement when that comes. Hopefully it will be in the next few weeks. And stick with me. I'll guide you through. All right, everybody. Have a great day. All right. Bye-bye.